Welcome to Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip. Hosted by me, Ash, or also known as Ashtootrippy. Join me as I dive deep into the murky world where crime, conspiracy, and the juiciest gossip collide. Each episode peels back the layers of mystery, uncovering the facts, the theories, and the whispers that blur the line between truth and fiction, which its unsolved cases, mind-bending conspiracies, or the latest scandal. I bring a fresh perspective and a fearless approach to unraveling the unknown. Get ready for a wild ride where nothing is off limits, because sometimes the line between reality and rumor is a little blurred. This is our weekly recap episode. As a reminder, every Tuesday is a weekly recap into things that I find interesting or things that I have noticed people are talking about, including true crime, any kind of conspiracies, and also any kind of gossip that's going around, including our Trash Talk segment. I hope you guys enjoy. So let's get into a couple of stories that have a few blurred lines. Hey everyone, welcome back to Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind Gossip. I'm your host, Ashtootrippy, or Ashley, if you'd like to call me that. But welcome back, guys. This is our updates episode where we give you updates on things happening around the world or things that are just catching our attention. So we're going to talk about a few things today, guys. We're going to talk about the teen in Paris that throws her infant off a second-story balcony. We're also going to talk about Casey Anthony being on TikTok and Substack, and we're going to get into that. Remember, on Friday, I will be dropping my deep dive episode, and it will be on Casey Anthony herself, just in case anyone forgot exactly why she is the most hated woman in America. Then we are going to also talk about the boy that was kidnapped from Georgia in 2017, was recently found safe in Colorado. He's now 14 years old. We're going to get into that story. And then we are also going to talk about Emily Pike, the 14-year-old girl that went missing and was found on February 14th in Arizona. I just want to talk about that because I feel like that it needs a platform, and there's other stuff going on within that group home that, in my opinion, needs to be investigated. So let's get to it, guys. I want to insert a couple of reminders before we get started here. Be sure to subscribe, like, and review wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to me, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Also, remember, we do have the Blurred Lines TikTok page, blurred.lines and the number 5. Go follow me over there. We can get into talking and conversating on some subjects, especially Casey Anthony. I'm going to be posting more about her over there so we can talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, go and subscribe, like, comment, do all the things, share with some friends. My podcast, we're still just getting started here, guys, so there's so much more to come. Okay, one more thing before we get started. I just want to warn you guys, there is a few trigger warnings in this for gory situations and also any kind of triggering things to do with infant loss and things like that, because we're talking about Casey Anthony, and things are really gruesome. So just trigger warning, blanket trigger warning for all of this. There is some happy stuff in here, but there is also some really gruesome stuff that's gone on. The first one we're talking about is the 18-year-old teen that in Paris threw her infant off a second story window at a hotel. She was actually taken to the hospital to undergo an operation after giving birth. So basically it said that she gave birth, she didn't know she was pregnant, and went ahead and did this, and the baby was found in a nearby trash can. So again, it's not said if the girl put the baby in the trash can or if, it just landed in there. I don't know how it happened, but basically it was a brand new newborn baby. She underwent an operation for the pregnancy. Something happened. The baby did not end up surviving. They did take the baby to the hospital and the baby did not survive. The woman, the 18-year-old teen that did this, is basically under psychiatric care at this time because because of these things she did. Now, there's no names or updates or anything like this. This happened at the end of February. Basically, since it's in Paris, there's very minimal information on what exactly happened to this. But again, it was an 18-year-old. She was an American. She was traveling with, it seemed like family, or maybe some family and some friends, and this took place. So that's a very tragic story. I just thought it was something I heard about, and I looked into it, and it's just very sad that she's now in a psychiatric home and had to endure all of that. And, don't really know the situation or circumstances surrounding it, because there could have been numerous different reasons why she didn't know she was pregnant, or maybe she knew and was in denial, things like that. It happens all the time. Okay, now going into the next story we have here. I don't know if a lot of people have watched like Unsolved Mysteries, the newer ones. They have the new Unsolved Mysteries. I think it's over on Netflix, I believe, or on Hulu. Don't mark my words because I don't really know. But on Wednesday, March 5th, a now 14-year-old was found. He went missing when he was 7. It was basically a trespassing incident that led to the apprehension of a woman wanted for allegedly kidnapping her 7-year-old non-custodial son in 2017. His name is Abdul Aziz Khan, and according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Khan's parents split in 2014. His mother, Rabia Khalid, moved to Atlanta from New Orleans for a job. The estranged couple reportedly fought over custody, and I guess custody was threatened to Rabia, and she basically took that as it wasn't going to happen. She never showed up to a custody hearing, and she basically left town not only with Aziz, the son, the 7-year-old boy, but also with her boyfriend, Elliot Burgess, I believe you say his last name. There was 2 children in the car when the police went up for the trespassing incident. Basically, they were found to be trespassing on a real estate property, and they tried to kind of come off like they were part of the real estate company, but the officers kind of stepped up. The Douglas County Sheriff's Department definitely stepped up. They apprehended the mother and the boyfriend. And I guess when they had arrived, these 2 children were in the car. Basically, these people were trying to pretty much rob this house, it sounds like, allegedly. Khan and his siblings have been placed into protective custody at this time, and to my understanding, Aziz, the little boy, is supposed to be reunited with his father, who was fighting for full custody of the child. No other circumstances are known, but just a fun fact, this was an Unsolved Mysteries episode, and they were looking for this child. He's now 14, and he was found safe and sound. That's needless to say what kind of traumas he endured not seeing his father, or what his mother was telling him about that. But that's just a really happy story that happened, and I think it's great to hear stories like that sometimes, because it brings hope for certain situations. And it gets worse. So Casey Anthony is back on TikTok, guys. Yeah, if you haven't heard, Casey Anthony is on TikTok, and I actually did a little bit of a deep dive, and she's had a TikTok since August. If you go on the profile, it's Casey Anthony _Substack, and she, on her reposts, her very earliest repost was back from August of 2023. So she has been casing the joint, in my opinion. If you guys don't know who Casey Anthony is, she was dubbed America's most hated mom, or most hated woman, because basically her 2-year-old daughter was missing for 31 days, didn't mention it to anyone. And then when it finally came out that her mom was pushing to see where her daughter Kaylee Anthony was at, she then said that she was with a nanny. Nobody could find the nanny. Then when that lie fell through, she basically said that the nanny took her. And then when that lie fell through, she said that she doesn't know where she's at. So that's when they ended up calling 31 days after she initially was last seen or missing. And now her whole story is basically, now she blames her father. So lie after lie after lie after lie. Now it comes down to her blaming her father for this. And she stood on this for years, that her father was abusing her and her daughter. And this is why it happened. She basically launched a TikTok account reintroducing herself personally and professionally as a legal advocate. She felt compelled to advocate for herself and for her daughter, claims people close to her were recently targeted and attacked. And she feels like it is something that she needs to do with her platform to protect people and let people know how privacy is of the utmost importance. She states she's been in the legal field since 2011 when she was acquitted of the murder of her daughter, Kaylee Anthony. In 2023, Casey was still working for McKenna, which was a lawyer she had. And she had also started a private investigation business. So that's where she says that she also researches things for people. She says that basically she wants to stand up for women's rights and the LGBTQ plus community. Now, my girl that I listen to, Annie Elise, if you guys don't listen to her podcast seriously, I love her. And she actually noticed in her TikTok video that it was positioned really awkwardly in the car. It was to kind of expose a tattoo she has on her arm so people can see it. And it kind of looks like a LGBTQ plus tattoo, which is kind of weird. This woman's never come out as being gay or even bisexual. So it's kind of weird of that. Also considering that her most recent hookup of a guy was a married man with 2 children. But hey, I digress. To each their own. Again, this woman is coming on here saying that she's advocating for herself and her daughter. She came on here to basically promote herself professionally for what else? Money. But yet she's not up here talking about, oh, let's come up here and advocate for my daughter so we can find her killer or the person that did this to her. No, none of those words were spoken from her mouth at any given point in time in this video. And she talks about her parents. She talks about saying her justice about that. And it just, you know what it just gave me? It just gave me a whole lot of me, narcissistic activity is what it was giving me. But nonetheless, our next deep dive on Friday will be Casey Anthony. We're going to get into the whole case from start to finish when it happened back in 2008 to the trial in 2011. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the parents. We're going to talk about the enabling. We're going to talk about the bounty hunter that helped her. We're going to talk about the lawyers that quit on her. We're going to talk about all the nitty gritty. So be sure you guys are subscribed so you guys can get that podcast when I drop it on Friday. Now, she also states that the only way she is going to be on social media is to be speaking in a professional manner. So she's basically stating that she's only going to be on social media talking about her profession, which, again, she says is a legal advocate. But to my understanding, in order to be a legal advocate, you have to have some kind of education behind you. And looking it up, that's what a lot of other people have seen, that if you want to be a legal advocate, you have to kind of fall into a paralegal and then, have to be looking in that direction of education. Now, as far as everybody knows, and she didn't state this in her video, you think it'd be something important to know, like, hey, I'm going to school for this, or I went to school for this. Instead, she just says that she's been doing this. And the other information I found as far as the private investigation company, that was stuff that I located online that I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm still getting into all of the nitty gritty. So again, if you guys want any information on that, there will be a deep dive on Friday for that. But how do you guys feel about Casey Anthony being on TikTok? I really feel like it's a pick-me move to be like, hey, all these murders, all these killers, all these people that have been convicted are making money. Why not me? Like, pick me. I want to be your favorite murdering mom. Or I want to be the favorite person that murdered somebody in my family. Like, to me, honestly, people that do this to people that they don't know are in a different category than people that do this to people they do know. Because in my mind, it has to be more on a personal level to kill someone that is your immediate family member. Now, I also want to just remind you guys of some of the facts of this case. She was acquitted. The only reason she was acquitted was because they charged her with the biggest charge that they had at the time, and the jury was not able to downgrade that charge. So she would have faced jail time if they were able to do that. There has been laws that have been passed now that change that. A lot of the evidence that was presented was directed toward Casey. Again, she didn't call the cops for 21 days. She wasn't even the person to call 911. It was her mother that called initially because she was scared, and 911 after the third call did talk with Casey, and Casey stated that she was going through other resources to locate her daughter. Don't know what resources there were. She ended up dumping the car. The father found it, said it smelled like a dead body. They did find DNA evidence in the car that was linked to Kaylee Anthony. Now, the person that found Kaylee Anthony was a neighbor, and she was found 2 to 3 blocks away from the Anthony home, and it was basically her skull that was found. Now, I have seen in some affidavits due to her bankruptcy that she tried to pin the murder of her daughter on this innocent man that found this poor child. So that's crazy to me. I don't know, but Casey has maintained since, I don't know, maybe like a few years ago, she did a documentary over on Peacock, and she basically claims that her father essayed her and his granddaughter, and that he has something to do with it, that she was in the pool and she drowned, and when there was none of that evidence ever there. Her story doesn't match up. She has a history of lying. She's a pathological liar. She also is diagnosed as narcissistic with a personality disorder. So honestly, do any of us want to be taking legal advice from somebody like that? That's just, again, in my opinion, and allegedly. Be sure you guys are subscribed to watch that deep dive or listen to that deep dive, because you're not going to want to miss it, okay? All right, so now this is a really, really heavy story, and I wanted to tell it because I have been listening to true crime for a long time. And listen, I listen to Crime Junkies. If you guys don't listen to Crime Junkies, you guys need to. They recently did an episode, and I will try to drop it in the links down below, but they recently did an episode of Native American women, and there was two incidents where women were found dismembered or just thrown off the side of the road. This is why this hit me so hard. Now, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 14-year-old Emily Pike was found in Arizona. Her dismembered remains were left in trash bags off the side of the road. Basically, they found all parts of her. They are missing, I believe, her arms and her hands. They did find the other parts of her. Emily was last seen on January 27th, and indeed they did not find her arms or hands. The autopsy showed visible face and head trauma, and the DNA was matched with Emily's mother. Now, I want to also put in the show notes down below if anyone has any information in regards to Emily Pike, or if you just even have an inkling of something, because somebody somewhere knows something about this. If you have any information, you're encouraged to call the Gila County Sheriff's Office for the Bureau of Indian Affairs or the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police. Any information is good information, guys, especially when we're talking about a child. This is a 14-year-old child that was taken, and she was gone for 2 weeks. She was listed for 2 weeks as a missing runaway. They were not looking for her. They were not trying to locate her. They thought she left on her own accord, which we see in many situations. This does not just happen. And so for 2 weeks, there's no current suspects. There's nothing that can pinpoint anybody. So again, if you've heard something, please contact these. I'll try to leave the information down below. This is one thing I'm going to prioritize. So if I leave some stuff out, at least you guys have the names again. Gila County Sheriff's Office, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police. Now, the FBI is now assisting in this case. So also, if you want to reach out to the FBI within the Arizona area, you definitely can as well. She was found outside of Globe in a remote area off Highway 60. Now, the other saddest portion of this is when she was found, when she was actually reported missing. I think it was about a week after. The only reason this was actually leaked out was a memo was leaked on social media that the group home had a history of missing people. And something was leaked in regards to a document, and instead of posting or whatever wherever they were going to send it, it's sent to a social media. Now, with this group home that she was in, because she was in a group home at the time, in the past 3 years, there's been 30 missing persons cases from there. And this is a girls group home. They serve girls 7 to 17. They do take referrals from the Department of Child Safety and Tribal Social Services. Now, the group home has not been announced just for privacy concerns because it is a girls group home. But in my opinion, that's a lot. That's a lot of children from 7 to 17. That's a lot of young girls of a Native American demographic getting taken, or even that's a big demographic even for girls to be leaving and going missing. There's something going on there, and I hope that the FBI investigates the group home itself. This group home was located in Mesa, Arizona. Now, a couple of really heartwarming things Emily's mom has told reporters is that Emily loved painting and she loved art. And she was really excited to go to college one day and study art and become an artist, because that's what she loved doing and that's what her passion was. But my heart breaks. Again, there is similar stories. If you've ever looked into the missing Indigenous women all across the United States, there is a uniform pattern of just mutilation, of trauma, of head trauma, face trauma, of just brutal crimes. And it's so sickening to think that somebody has such a big hatred in their heart for even just a young girl. You know what I mean? Like, a young girl doesn't even know what she wants out of life yet, or is trying to find her way, and is trying to most likely be the best version of herself she possibly can. She was only 14 years old. There was no reason for her to have to go through anything, and I can only imagine what she went through, previously, before this happened. And I can only hope that she was at peace, or she was dead before any of this tremendous stuff happened. But again, my thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Emily Pike, and I hope you guys find closure soon. Again, if you guys have any information, even if you don't think that it's important, you are encouraged to call the Gila County Sheriff's Office, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or the San Carlos Apache Tribal Police. Again, this is out of Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. I know there's a lot of protesting going on out there, and a lot of Native Americans standing up for their rights, and that's what we like to see. I am not, or I should say, I don't know if I have any kind of Native American blood in me, but I feel for them, because there's no justifying one race being more important than the other in any situation. Race, gender, anything like that should not divide you in any way, shape, or form. That's just my opinion. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit into my trash talk segment, because I have some things to say. Now, I didn't put Casey Anthony in this because, again, we're going to talk way more trash on her and facts on her on Friday. So just a reminder. But trash talk. So there's a few things going around the Trash Talk universe. Now, if you guys don't know what Trash Talk segment is, it's basically where I talk about TikTok and the trashy side, where there's drama and neglectful parents, and people think that they're doing just perfectly fine when, in fact, they're breaking the law. Yeah, the wonderful side, right? Anyways, this is kind of like our gossip segment too, so listen up. And if you're not on TikTok, be sure to follow me at Ashtootrippy. Also, we have our podcast TikTok, blurred.lines, and the number 5. Check it out. We can get into conversations over there, and I post a little bit more on my Ashtootrippy account. So check it out. Now, the first thing I want to get into here is Brazilian Jenkins. I went and I watched some of their videos, and I updated. So right as of the time I'm recording this, they have 9 days to vacate their home. Stephanie's crashing out. She's crashing out. She's upset that people are talking about her. She's upset that people are bringing up the facts of what has happened. And more recently, we do have a document from, I guess it was a complaint to child services or something, or the school, that I guess Stephanie punched Drew's son and gave him a black eye. And this was said directly from Stephanie's or Drew's son himself. So she claims that nobody asks her side of the story, and this isn't really what happened, and that his mom's a deadbeat, not her, and blah, 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 blah. This doesn't make her good in any way, shape, or form. It kind of reiterates the way she is, because we've seen in the past in some videos where her girls are wearing like matching PJs, and then the little boy's like wearing a t-shirt and some sweats. Like, you know, like it's not like, you can already tell the dynamic in that home is very different. They treat the kids that are Stephanie's different, or Stephanie's and Drew's, than that child. Also, we have to remember that Drew's son is autistic. So I'm sure Stephanie doesn't seem like she's the most patient of moms that ever lived either. So I could imagine, you know, this. Now, Stephanie has admitted that she does spank her children and do all of that. I don't know. Hearing this just gives me more Ruby Frankie vibes. And she's really mad when people call her Ruby Frankie, because she's like, I am not like that. But everything we've seen is pointing to that. You know, the attention, the money, the abuse, the rage bait in some cases too, you know, it's crazy. But she's decided to still mock content creators and say, oh, you're making money off of me, yada, yada, yada. The only reason people talk about her or are making money off of her is because she's a horrible parent. And so that's our karma coming back to us, is our money we're making from calling you out on your shit. So not only has she punched her son, but now, you know, she's thrown out some cats, which I still do not believe that those cats are going to be rehomed with them. It's crazy. I do really think they have a home, like they have something lined up. She's just trying to milk it for all it's worth. But in 9 days, we'll find out sooner or later if they have a house, and if it's bigger or smaller, or what the hell they're going to do in 9 days, because they're getting evicted. And again, if you don't know who the Brazilian Jenkins are, they're the family of 7 that live in a 1-bedroom home. They were recently evicted because of non-payment of rent, which turned out to be $2,000 they owed in rent. They were on a housing program. So I'm assuming, from what I've gathered from people that say like what the housing would look like, it was probably a good 6 months worth of rent that they were behind, as far as what I can guesstimate, because we don't know exactly, but that's my guesstimation. They were 6 months behind. Mind you, this is within the time frame that Stephanie went viral. So why aren't you paying your rent when you're getting a paycheck from TikTok? Like, she easily made almost 10 grand when she first went viral. So where did it go? Like, what did you do with it? Did you buy junk? Did you buy more video games? Did you buy more gardening supplies? And again, no hate to gardeners, because I am a gardener, but I also couldn't afford being a gardener. If I couldn't afford it, I wouldn't do it. So there's a big difference between those two. Now, if you guys want to hear more about that or want to catch up, I do have a lot of videos over on my page, and I'm going to be uploading them on TikTok so you guys can see it there. It's a little more uniform. I'm going to be uploading them on YouTube. It's a little more uniform on YouTube, and you can find them quicker on there. So I'll be sure to update them. It's kind of hard for me. I'm juggling a lot of things right now, but I'll try to find time to do that. Now, the next person on Trash Talk segment is going to be the infamous Ashley Trevino Garcia. Now, recently I've been told that we're not calling her Ashley Trevino, because apparently, so she kept her last name Trevino because she says that's what made her, what people know her as. That's what made her famous. That's like her alias, because she was married at the time and now she's divorced. But her maiden name is Garcia. So do with that what you will. And now she has not gotten paid. Now, as of right now, when I'm filming this, she had not gotten paid from TikTok in 2 weeks. I did a video over on my TikTok account, Ashtootrippy, talking about the instances and why she's not. Now, there was a petition out that got a lot of signatures. There was also emails getting sent to TikTok, and she's violated community guidelines numerous times for things that are even illegal in her state of Texas. And she continues just making new accounts. The accounts get taken down. She makes new accounts. She monetizes. Now, what could be happening, because apparently when people try to report the account, they say it's under investigation. And it does seem like at this time, TikTok is investigating her for the community guidelines violation. Now, I do remind people that they can find that she's banned, but she can find ways on the app. I don't know if you guys know who Perez Hilton is, but he was actually banned from the app for hate speech a while back. But he came back like 6 months later, like nothing happened, and basically is crying every time his accounts get taken down, and he's had like 7 accounts since then. And they're going to continue doing that, because even though you make it a little bit harder for TikTok to find those accounts, they will find you, because they find you on ways you get paid out. I know people sometimes put like family members' information so they don't get found out. There's ways around it, and those loopholes just make it harder for TikTok to find you, but they will. She agreed to terms and conditions, and I hope she doesn't get paid for the foreseeable future. As she stated before, she's basically just a streamer. She's not an influencer. She's not a content creator. She is a streamer that still does nothing on her lives. Now, this is a big thing too, is like TikTok has changed their live guidelines, so you have to be interacting with your audience. You can't have any fake engagement, and you can't be begging. You can't be panhandling and saying drop gifts, drop this, drop that. Now, I went in her live the other day and she was doing that in a battle, and I reported it, but I didn't know what to report it as, because that is against community guidelines now, is to be like, hey, drop this or drop that or give me this. And supposedly the other night she was on there saying, oh, I'm going to get off if you guys don't give me money. That's not allowed on TikTok anymore. So I think that's also, TikTok is looking at the big picture of everything. Everything's been sent to them, and hopefully they'll do something about it. But again, don't be surprised if they don't, because it's hard. They can banana her so much. It's hard for them to keep track of it. It's not as easy as people think. Again, they have to abide by laws and terms and conditions as well. So, Now, apparently, Vegan Riz, or Adriel Sigler, who is also a known panhandler that's really just a disgusting human being on TikTok as well. She's going through something similar, where she had been bananaed and they haven't been paying her, and she's threatening to sue. And like I said, I posted a video earlier this week and said basically that rightfully so. Those are the terms and conditions that you agree to when you sign up and you use the TikTok platform. So there's no way these people are going to sue these people, because you really think TikTok just half-asses it or doesn't dot their I's and all that stuff? No. I don't think so. So good luck with all of that. That's another thing that Casey Anthony had said too on her Substack after people started posting about her, and this is just a little tidbit to throw in, is she said she was going to start filing for defamation. Like, where, honey? How are you going to do that? Your image is already tarnished by the things that you have done yourself, that the evidence does not lie in any situation. So that's just my stance on it. Again, that's all. That's just my opinion, and you guys could do with it what you will, but it's just shady to me, And last but not least, the next worst mother on the internet, Nurse Hannah. I don't know if you guys remember her, but she was the the woman that had the 17 diapers around her house, and people were advocating for her for a little bit because they were like, oh, giving her praise because she had 17 diapers in her house and this was like a postpartum thing. But it turned out she was just another neglectful parent, and there was videos that came out of her husband basically like pretend like scaring her son and her son flinching really bad. There's been instances where they eat in front of her son. Like it was just really nasty. While she's come back, she's back and she's jobless. Yeah, jobless. So she chooses to be a traveling nurse, probably because of her reputation, but she chooses to be a traveling nurse. And from what I heard, traveling nurses don't get consistent work. While she hasn't worked in about almost, I think last I seen it was like 12 or 13 days or something like that. And she was like basically saying, oh, it's so hard. She's never not worked before, yada, 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 right? But it's crazy too, because this is the same woman that gives 10% of her earnings to a church. So there's that. But anyway, she's back on social media and she's talking about her jobs and she's talking about all this stuff. And she tries to be like a granola Pilates mom now, and it's just not working for her. Honestly, I can see her being the next Ruby Frankie. I know we talk about the Jenkins being the next Ruby Frankie, but I see Hannah being more of Ruby Frankie. I think regardless of what Stephanie and what she's done, I don't see her getting to that extent, maybe for the money, honestly. Like, that's the only reason I can see her doing this. But Hannah, on the other hand, needs the attention and the money to boot because she has to pay her cult, you know. But again, just my opinion. The internet is filled with neglectful mothers and people that are unwilling to take care of their children. So please call them out on it, because nobody else is going to. And obviously it takes the authorities so long to even try to attempt to call these people out or to try to get any evidence on them, even though everything's online. So let's talk about them. Talk about them more, post videos about them, all of them, because they need to be exposed. These children never asked to be brought into the world, okay? So it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure that their lives are as easy as possible until they're able to be adults of their own. That's just the cut and dry of being a parent. And if you didn't know that and you're a parent, then maybe you should put yourself in that category as these other women, because it's showing. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and thank you for being a part of my podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this, and be sure to subscribe so you don't forget about that deep dive episode on Casey Anthony coming on the 13th. But until then, guys, I am Ashtootrippy. This is Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip, and we'll talk about it next time. Bye, guys.